We see sleepwalking portrayed in the media often. People walking in the night, unaware of their surroundings. But what if you found yourself sleepwalking, unaware of your actions, unconsciously walking through the darkness of the night? What if you started your car, your headlights shining in the darkness, unaware of the sights around you? What if after you awoke, you were covered in blood? What would you do? During REM sleep, the body becomes unable to move. It goes into a temporary paralysis. But for people with REM sleep behavior disorder, this is not the case. People who experience REM sleep disorder may act out their dreams by kicking, hitting, talking, laughing, and shouting. REM sleep disorder happens when the nerves that control the muscles of the body that create a temporary paralysis are active during sleep, when they really should be inactive. Some factors that could lead to REM sleep behavior disorder are environmental, while some are more medical. People may develop REM sleep behavior disorder if they take certain medications, have a neurodegenerative disorder, or have narcolepsy. Sleepwalking, also called somnambulism, is one of the more common parasomnias, with 1 to 15% of people experiencing it. It often involves multiple other parasomnias, such as talking or laughing in your sleep. Sleepwalking can occur due to stress, sleep deprivation, and may even be caused by some medications. Sleepwalking happens during non-REM slow-wave sleep cycles, but can also occur in the deep sleep of the night. According to research, people who have depression or OCD are more likely to sleepwalk, with sleepwalking symptoms increasing due to stress, sleep deprivation, and anxiety. Sleepwalkers typically have their eyes open, but they don't see their environment, which means that when people wake up, they don't often remember what's happened. Allison Bear from Idaho experiences sleepwalking on a dangerous level. On August 20th, her husband awoke to find that Allison had gone missing. The sliding glass door that was typically blocked so that Allison could not get out was open. After 5 hours of searching for her, Allison was found a quarter mile from home on the banks of a river suffering from hypothermia. 2 weeks prior to this incident, she had walked into a river while having a nightmare that she was drowning. When she woke up, she realized her nightmare was a reality. Sleep eating is another parasomnia and occurs during REM sleep. Sleep eating is often referred to as nocturnal sleep-related eating disorder, and 1 to 5% of adults experience these episodes. This disorder involves a person rising from their bed while asleep, walking to their kitchen, and finding food to eat, all while never remembering it. These sleep-eating episodes may last roughly 10 minutes, with the sleep eaters commonly seeking out high-calorie foods in the night. Each episode runs a risk of injury for the person involved, as they may eat raw food, cut themselves, and possibly start fires. This is a slow-developing parasomnia, though, with the intensity growing over time. Factors that could lead to sleep eating include daytime eating disorders, ending a smoking or drinking habit, stress, and narcolepsy. Chris Perez is a 24-year-old man who copes with nocturnal sleep-related eating disorder. He began experiencing sleep eating when he was just a sophomore in college. His roommates had pointed out that he was constantly eating a lot of their food, and Chris began to notice that he was gaining weight and having terrible stomach aches. After speaking with a sleep medicine doctor, he was diagnosed with nocturnal sleep-related eating disorder. He was placed on Lexapro and now eats meals before going to bed so he does not feel hungry while he sleeps. While these are just a few examples of parasomnias, there are much more dangerous sleep activities. There have been multiple cases of people murdering other people in their sleep, but I want to focus on just 2 of them. Kenneth Parks is a man from Pickering, Canada. At the age of 24, he had a wife and an infant daughter and was dealing with insomnia and anxiety. Why, you ask? He had been caught committing fraud by billing his employers to cover his $30,000 gambling debt. Ken enjoyed gambling at horse races, and once his employers had found out that he had been falsely charging them for his gambling, he was fired. He had a history of sleepwalking, and combined with the anxiety of the looming fraud court case, he was experiencing extreme insomnia and stress. He and his wife had decided that they needed to tell his in-laws about the gambling debt. The night before they had planned to tell them, Ken drove 12.5 miles to their house and murdered his mother-in-law and attacked his father-in-law, all while he was still asleep. His mother-in-law, Barbara, was stabbed in the chest, shoulder, and heart and suffered blunt force trauma to her face and skull. His father-in-law, Dennis, was found unconscious but had wounds. After the incident, Ken drove himself to the police station while he was still covered in blood and turned himself in. He was later acquitted of the murder as the jury believed that he was sleepwalking at the time. Ken was still convicted of fraud. Scott Flater is a man from Phoenix, Arizona, and on the night of January 16, 1997, he went to bed and woke up to the police at his door. A neighbor had called the police when they had watched Scott push his wife into their pool and hold her head under the water. What the neighbor did not see was that previously, Scott had stabbed his wife 44 times. After holding his wife underwater, he walked back into his house and hid the knife and his bloody clothing. While Scott does not deny killing his wife Yarmila, he does continue to claim that it was done involuntarily while sleepwalking. Scott had lived a happy life with his wife and was not experiencing any stress from life. He also didn't appear to have a history of sleepwalking. But one pivotal piece of this story is that one of Scott's co-workers testified during the trial that Scott had brought up the Kenneth Parks case just weeks before he had killed his wife in his sleep. Scott was later convicted of murder. How is it that both men committed similar crimes, yet they had very different outcomes? Ken Parks had managed to drive 12.5 miles, murder his mother-in-law, and he was acquitted. Scott had murdered his wife in his backyard and was convicted. Was Ken acquitted because he had had a history of sleepwalking, while Scott did not? Was Ken acquitted because he had been experiencing stress that aggravated his sleepwalking, and Scott was convicted because he was not experiencing such stress? Was Scott convicted because he had brought up the Ken Parks case a few weeks prior to killing his wife? While both of these cases have varying levels of intricacy and different outcomes, they show what people are capable of while sleeping. So now comes the fun part of the show, something to lighten the mood. Today we have Andrew on the show to play some sleep trivia. If Andrew can get 4 of the 5 questions right, he gets to have a restful night's sleep knowing that he reigns supreme with his sleep knowledge. Alright, so today we have Andrew in to do some trivia, but first I'd like to ask you, what's your sleep like?
My sleep?
Yeah.
In what way? In what way is it like?
Like, for the most part, is your sleep pretty restful? Do you feel like after you're done sleeping, you're pretty awake?
Yes, I don't usually take naps, and no matter how long or short of amount of time I sleep, usually once I have woken up, I am awake and I don't fall back asleep.
Yeah.
So.
What are your dreams like?
They're interesting. I don't have them that often. I mean, I don't remember them at least. Maybe once a week I'll remember a dream. They're usually pretty positive. A lot of the times, like, reflective of things in my past couple days.
Not like my dreams.
And nothing scary. Yeah, nothing that scary. There's the occasional, like, really scary dream, but I'm pretty usually aware that it is a dream, at least.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned that you could, like, lucid dream. Did you ever have that moment where you're like, I know what lucid dreaming is, and I can do that now, or were you able to lucid dream before you, like, found out about lucid dreaming?
I was able to do it before I knew there was, like, a term for it or whatever, but I think probably when I was, like, getting into my 20s is when it really happened more often, more regularly. And it's not like how some people say that they have total control and they're kind of running around and doing whatever. I'm just kind of aware. It's almost like I'm, like, in a vessel of a body that is me. Like, I'm still wary of my actions and consequences in my dreams, but I'm also at the same time in the back of my head, so to speak, aware that it's not going to direct my whole life, or it's not going to affect my whole life. But I do understand that I'm in a dream still, whether or not I'm taking the precautions that I should be in the dream.
So
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you feel like your dreams are, like, long enough to be able to do that? Because I feel like for me, a lot of the times, like, my dreams don't feel long enough for me to be able to recognize, like, oh, hey, I'm dreaming. It's more of like once I wake up, I say, like, that was a really short dream, and I can't,
it doesn't seem long enough for me to be able to recognize that I'm dreaming.
Yeah, and that's how most of mine are, especially the ones that are like a little bit scarier. Those I remember a lot more of because there's more like scary things that happen to me, more things that are, I guess, scarring, but not scarring, but they stay with me through after the dream. But with like the other ones, they're so like kind of just almost boring. There's nothing like super like high stakes or high energy happening a lot of the time. So I think I only maybe remember like a few seconds worth of those dreams. Yeah. I mean, probably more than a few seconds, but you know how like when dreams they seem like they're really long, but it's also like only such a quick flash of it. I only remember bits of it.
Is there like, do you have like a reoccurring dream at all? Is there like one dream that like seems to have a pretty consistent theme?
No.
Really?
I wouldn't say there's a specific recurring theme.
That's interesting. I
think it's almost always a lot of it's recent things. Sometimes there's things that are like directly going on in my life that will be like slightly related to, or even someone that I've recently thought of or spoke to or recently just met. Sometimes they'll show up in the dream. Things like that. And sometimes they'll be directly related to events that are currently going on in my life, but not really long-term things.
Yeah.
So if it's ever relevant to something in my life, it's usually something that I've been recently thinking.
Yeah. So as like throughout like your teenage years and into your adulthood, have you ever like experienced sleepwalking? Or like night terrors?
I've never had night terrors. I've been told that I've had times where like I've gotten up out of bed and done sleepwalking type things.
Oh, that was for me.
But I will honestly say that I think there was alcohol involved in that night, so I can't be like, you know, what my state of mind. So, but other than that, I usually don't have problems with sleepwalking or anything. I think it's been that one time day. So.
Yeah, I think there was the twice. I don't know if you were like actually sleepwalking, but I remember like the two times where I feel like you had been sleepwalking or something, but yes. Not sure. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Let's do some trivia.
Okay, my favorite. I love trivia.
Question 1. Also, just so you know, you're competing for, if you get 4 of the 5 questions right, you get to have a restful night's sleep knowing that you reign supreme with sleep knowledge. So
I'm glad that I will know that when
enjoy your prize. Enjoy your prize. Question number 1. What does REM sleep stand for? Ooh, look at you. True or false? If you wake someone from sleepwalking, they will die.
Oh man, I'm doing so far.
True. It's false. True that it is false. They might try to fight you because they're frightened, so they're just defending themselves, but they won't die. Yeah. Randy Gardner holds the Guinness World Record for doing what? It is! He did not sleep for 11 days and 25 minutes without any stimulants. No coffee, no nothing, just awake. Question number 4. You're doing really well. 3 out of 3 so far. So question number 4 is, what does the term legophthalmos? Legophthalmos? What does that refer to? If you get even close with my pronunciation, I'll give you credit. Really? Just anything, any guess. No, I'd say it's much more sleep specific. No,
No.
but close. It's sleeping with your eyes open.
Oh.
Yeah. Really? Who does that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Not
I think.
wide open.
Yeah. My stepdad used to do it as a kid. It was frightening. Because it was like, and it wouldn't happen continuously. It would just like intermittently happen to where you weren't 100% sure if he was actually awake, which was also terrifying because you're like, what is he doing? And yeah. All right, so still 3 for 4. Still could win. What does the term what does the term dysania refer to? Dysania. You suffer from this. Is that your final answer? I'm so sorry, you do not get to rest easy tonight knowing that you reign supreme in sleep trivia, because dysania is referring to finding it hard to get out of bed in the morning. Yeah, somebody suffers greatly from that. I think so too. It's fine. Awesome. Yeah, you still got 3 out of 5. You still did really great. I was very surprised by you knowing the Randy Gardner one, or at least guessing it. That was still that was good process of elimination on that one. But anyway, it was great talking with you. It was great doing trivia with you. Yes, of course. Bye.